Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Tell Me More. We're excited you're here. We are in the studio for the last time of the year, and we're recapping 2024. Talking about our life, books, podcasts, time with God, our families, golf, eclipses. It's really fun, and we're super glad you're listening.
It's the end of the year as we know it, and we feel fine.
End of the year as we know it. We feel fine.
I just came up with that off
I
the
know,
top of my head.
a riff. That was a riff. We just riffed with each other.
This is the last episode of Tell Me More for the year 2024.
Wow.
Anno Domini, the year of our Lord.
Wow.
Can you believe we just get in here every week and record? It's a miracle in itself.
It is.
That we, for the most part.
And full
Every
disclosure,
week.
This is actually 2 recordings this week because we're not recording this on December 30th. This is a pre-recorded episode.
Right.
This is very rare.
So it's very prophetic.
This is very rare.
It has a prophetic feel to it.
Yeah. We're
forecasting.
Man, that sermon on the 29, so good.
We're just living into God's glorious future.
I didn't use any verbs because I didn't use any tense on that.
The sermon on the 29th is
really
going
good.
to be good.
Really good.
It's going to be from Isaiah. And, so it's going to be really good. It's going to be
awesome.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great way to end the year. But we're scattered, and so we decided, let's just have some fun in here. Let's recap the year.
2024.
Let's recap 2024, talk about some things, and then this will get put in the queue and published, I don't know, on the 30th, I guess. Mm-hmm. So
it'll be our 100 and something.
So hello from the future.
It'll be the
126th.
126.
Says our producer.
Uh-huh. Wow, isn't that crazy that we've done that many? Well, you haven't done that many. And
I haven't
neither
done that
have
many.
you. I have done them, but I've done the most.
I wonder if you and I have done roughly the same amount.
Have I not done the most?
I was gone for 3.5 months.
Yeah.
But
which
you
would
miss a
be
month
like
every
14 to 15 to 16.
Oh, that's true. I've missed July.
Yeah, I would say I missed approximately 16 podcasts when I was on maternity leave.
Okay.
But of 3 Julys, that's 12. Mixed with a spattering of other commitments.
Oh, so you're saying
that
maybe I've missed
just
as many? Is what you're trying? Is that the case you're making?
No, it's a math problem I'm trying to solve.
Okay, got it. All right, good. Okay.
We're all in and out. Thus,
so y'all
if you're a very dedicated listener, you can
let me
figure
clarify.
it out.
So y'all actually do the podcast when I'm not here in July. Is that really true?
It is really true.
The church just keeps on trucking.
Wow, that's something.
Not on all cylinders.
I've actually listened
by
to
all
them.
means, but
I actually listened to them all. I don't mean I haven't listened to mine, but I listened to them
when you're not
correct.
I try to. I do when y'all when I'm not with y'all just to stay.
You got to know what Ryan Chandler's up to.
Right, and to be honest with you, not only have I not seen Jurassic Park, I don't listen to other podcasts. So I hate to disappoint everybody. This is the only podcast that I listen to.
Of a question I was going to ask.
This is the only one I listen to.
Well, okay, I was thinking, and y'all know this because I talked about it before we hit record, is that
this is so carefully planned out. That's why we know this.
Here's my list I've been working on.
Super official.
Y'all can hear
highly
that.
scripted.
This is my script that has about 18 words on it total, and I wrote it down 3 minutes ago. So
good job.
I was thinking that we could truly kind of do a look back, and I even talked about, maybe I should have given y'all these questions a little bit earlier to think about, because I'm sure later it'll be like, no, that was really the favorite thing of 2024 or whatever. But a few things that I do want to just. I know y'all listen faithfully, but kind of a big picture. We're wrapping up this year of together.
Correct.
And what do you think?
So good.
Yeah. In fact, it's so good that it's going to make it as kind of an underpinning.
It is.
For the next at least 3 years.
Correct.
That we just need to be together doing it. So
exactly.
We're not going to talk too much on 2025, but y'all know flourishing together is what we're going to be about.
Right.
And did you notice that word together is still there?
Correct.
And in fact, it's been in all the word and deeds, and it's part of what we aspire to be.
Right.
If not part of who we are right now.
And when I was off in July of what would it have been 2023. When I wasn't doing the podcast, and I guess y'all were carrying on without me.
July 2023.
Studying, preparing. I felt at that time that we were just now starting to come out of COVID in a lot of ways, and just the whole challenge of the pandemic. And so as I was praying and studying, that was one of the words. I usually begin with the list of words. That's kind of how I arrive at these themes. And that was one of the words that I had on a piece of paper. And I just kept coming back to it. And what is it about being together? What about What about that calling of God? And so then I began researching Hebrew and Greek words in the New Testament about what does it mean? What does the word mean? More often than not, it just means to be together, that you're in the same geographical space. But it does have some other meanings. It's this idea of a sense of unity or sharing life or sharing communion or sharing something. And so it really began to capture my imagination. And so that's how we landed on it being the theme for the next year, which is this year. And since we have agreed on these, what we would call liturgical seasons, but they're really more the rhythm of just this particular church's life, obviously anchored by Advent and Lent and Easter. But just the way we do church here, we have 8 of those throughout the year if you start in the winter. And so I just began making notes of the various facets of what is it when we talk about being together, and then try to address those throughout the year. So that's kind of how we got to where we are. And I think it's been a very significant year. The Ephesians has been the underpinning for us, kind of the foundational book through the year. And of course I got to go to the N.T. Wright's take on the Greek New Testament. I spent those few days in Houston to hear him teach on Ephesians, and which was very powerful, very seminal in a lot of ways for me. And then the rest of this year is just unfolded in front of us, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. And right now we're together in the light. That's the theme for Advent, and I think it's been really good. So Advent season's gone well. I've enjoyed it, and there's that whole sense of the church doing life together, sharing life together. And so consequently, y'all came up with a plan to get these devotional guides in the hands of our people, using the together in word readings.
Your idea. We pulled the plan together. Yeah. I'd agree.
So I
Kyle, who's in the room with us, was a good producer for that. Thank you, Kyle.
We could do that. So I think it's been a very meaningful year for us, and I think that our folks have embraced the journey.
Can you tell me a little more about the word indeed, the plan? Because that's something new we did this year too. And going the shift from years of daily Bible readings to a shift to a weekly Bible kind of meditation.
Yeah, when I think it was back in 2009, if I remember correctly, 2009, back when y'all were in elementary school or whatever.
I was working at the South
college.
Plains BSM.
Sorry. Whatever.
I had my first big girl job.
Okay.
By big girl, I mean kind of little.
I had this idea that our church could read through the scripture together, so we did this, the Word of God for the people of God. And it was a 2-year journey, and so once we finished, and it was heavy reading, getting through the Old Testament, getting through the New Testament, whatever. And I really wasn't planning on continuing that because there's so many reading plans that are available for people. And one of our deacons at the time came to see me around November when we were finishing up, and just said, well, what's the plan for next year? And I said, what do you mean? He said, the daily Bible readings. I said, well, there aren't going to be any daily Bible readings next year. And he was like, what do you mean? We've already gotten used to it. Our Sunday school class uses these. And I said, well, we've completed the Bible, but we decided, okay, we'll do it for one more year. And so we've been doing it.
One more year.
So what was that? 2010, whatever.
14 more years.
So here we are still doing it. So this last year, again, while I was off in July, I don't know, I felt like, I wanted us to have a passage that I wanted to offer. There were opportunities throughout the year to do some narrative reading or, longer readings if you wanted. But I chose to allow just a little bit more reflection on one passage for the entire week, and it become our focus. And so in my mind, sharing that together is where I just came up with the idea of together in word. And then I thought, well, you could also put this into practice, and we could call that together indeed. And then y'all took that and built these devotional guides off of it. So, and somewhat of a similar, not necessarily the same kind of devotional guides, but somewhat of a similar approach going into next year. This taking a passage of scripture and letting it be more of a focal text for the week, and spend some time reflecting on it and praying through it and sharing it with your family and having conversations about it, and making it, just taking the text a little bit deeper into your life is because there's something about Bible reading that's important, and I believe in biblical literacy. It's one of my core foundations in my calling as a pastor is to help foster biblical literacy. But there's also a role to me that is just characterized by reflection, whether it's biblical reflection or theological reflection. So that's kind of where that came from. Yeah. And it's been a good year. I've enjoyed it. Lots happened this past year, and it's hard to believe that we're in December of 2024 and another year looming on the horizon. So
keep sticking in it.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, but I've enjoyed it. I think it's been a great year for us, and so yeah, ready, excited, grateful.
Love it. What about tie a bow on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're tying bows all over right now because we're wrapping presents at our house. So bow tying is the thing. Cindy's the bow tire.
I was going to say, are you a good bow tire?
No.
If we were going to wager.
You're a man of many skills.
I know, but that's not my thing. I can wrap.
Did you tie that tie?
I did. Well, I can tie ties.
I was wearing a tie this morning.
If you can tie a tie, you can tie a bow.
If can't tie a tie by now.
I worked in a men's clothing store, when I was in college, and I learned how to tie ties on.
You have worked at a men's clothing store.
Men's clothing store, driving for an electric company.
Funeral home.
Funeral home.
Flower shop.
Auto shop.
I worked for Monig's department store here in.
Luke's counting with his fingers.
We're to 6 now.
Had a lawn business when I was in seminary and when I was a little boy.
Business.
So yeah,
7.
I've had some interesting
roles. What have you not done?
There's a lot. I'm sure. I never was a youth minister.
You got to skip right over that. Huh?
I would not recommend it personally.
I was never a youth minister.
But when I was working, I worked for Yielding's department store, and it was a men's clothing store in Birmingham.
You learned to tie ties.
I did. I already knew how, but I learned how to tie even more, half Windsor, full Windsor, and also learned to tie ties on mannequins,
Which would be like in reverse, kind of?
Correct. Right. And that's turned out to be helpful. In fact, I did a wedding the other day.
With grooms, I bet,
a guy was having a hard time getting his tie tied, so I can actually tie a tie.
Yeah, I can do a half Windsor. That's about it.
Yeah. And, if you want the flatter look, kind of the tighter knot, that's kind of what I prefer. But some guys like the longer, kind of the longer, looser knot, which is not my favorite, but I get it. Some ties have to be tied that way.
My dad taught me how to tie a tie. Because, even in the 90s, my dad would wear a tie every day. Yeah. He was a banker. And then when he retired, by the time he retired, he was wearing a golf polo every day. There's a shift in just culture. But I'd watch him tie, and I learned.
He went from the traditional bank to the contemporary bank.
There it is. Yeah, somewhere around the year 2000, the tie came off, I think. I don't know.
What I can't do very well is the bow tie. I can tie a bow tie, but to me, the bow tie always is a little less than. I like the look of a bow tie, but when you tie one, it has it doesn't have a clean look to it like a regular necktie does. So I just prefer to wear a necktie rather. So
what's your favorite necktie of 2024?
I'll have several because I have to replenish tie. That's kind of a little. Don't go look in my closet, okay?
I have appropriately and with other people been in your closet before. It could sound weird.
I have
because we used to live on the same piece of property.
Right. I have neckties.
And let me tell you, it is organized. I think I've said that in here before.
Yeah, I keep my shirts arranged by color and season and my ties. I have a collection of ties. That's one of my weaknesses.
Approximately how many ties do you think you
have? That's a great question. Which color?
Ballpark total.
Well, I have 1, 2, 3.
You can't count.
4 rows of ties.
Okay, rows.
On a certain wall in my closet.
By about how many?
I don't know. A lot. Yeah, but the thing is, ties.
Cindy, we're going to come count.
Ties go in and out. I mean, you've got to, out of style.
They do.
The wider length.
Do they come back in?
They do. Yeah.
So you just hold on to them.
Oh, yeah. If I like them. Now, I will say this: there was an era where the ties got really wide, and I had a fair collection of those. I've ditched all of those. So
you don't think they're coming back?
No. And if they do, they won't come back for Dennis Wiles.
For those of you listening with wide ties,
the wide tie.
Is there a message you have for the wide tie listener?
If it's. If they're wide and you tie them too short, then that's never been the style to begin with. But I love ties. I think
it works for certain cartoon characters.
Maybe, yeah. I love ties though.
It's a nice look.
And I notice ties, how well they're tied. So it's just a little quirk of mine. So one of those things.
Okay, so if you've
Look
got
at what
a messy
you've learned.
tie, also watch out.
Now I had one of the men in our church, very sweet man who's a part of our Korean ministry, he knows that I like ties, and so one of the sweetest gifts I've gotten this year is he gave me a really nice set of Brooks Brothers ties, which is
wow,
very
That's
sweet.
very
Oh
sweet.
my goodness, yes, and I was very humbled by that.
I love that.
And, yeah, so
Sweet.
So yeah, there you go. Look at us.
Tell me more.
Questions.
End of year.
Tell me more
I've
about
got
2024.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 questions.
Here we go.
I mean, do you want to pick like 1 through? You want to pick one,
Let's
like
just see
name
how
a
far we
number,
get.
or you want to go
I don't
straight from
know.
the top?
Let's just see
I
how
don't
far
know.
we get.
Okay.
I don't know what we're going to do. I'm sitting here with my Bible open, acting like I'm dealing with Ephesians, but that's okay. I can close it.
Ephesians
I
was a
just
good
keep it
book.
open.
That was
Whatever,
the
I mean, whatever. Here,
You never know.
Here,
Text
we'll start
may
with
come
this.
to mind.
What's this year in 2024? What's your favorite verse in Ephesians? Luke. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Let Tito go first.
Do I have to narrow it down to a verse?
Well,
Yeah, one verse.
What verse?
Mine, apest. Next.
What's the reference on that?
4:12.
That's what I was going
Is
to
that
say.
right?
Darn it.
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, the opening prayer of Ephesians is just beautiful. I think that starts around verse 16.
That's not really a question I have, but
It's not.
he has his book open.
Mine
Hit
would
me with it, yeah.
be
Because you really,
Ephesians.
honestly, you have read through Ephesians a lot in the past
Yeah, I'd say
365.
3:10, how the manifold wisdom of God is on display through the church.
That's a beautiful,
Probably
just
what
the
I'd say.
wording.
Gorgeous.
That is, yeah, it is. It's beautiful.
That would probably be my favorite text for the year.
Okay.
But,
I love
but
that.
the prayers in Ephesians, I have been praying through them, prayed them over our
manifold
people
wisdom of
numerous
God
times. But to think
is on
about the
display.
church being that gift from God through which He is demonstrating His wisdom is a very powerful image for me.
I hope we can achieve that.
Reminder of
I
how
hope
beautiful
we
the
can
church is.
aspire to
Absolutely.
be
So yeah.
that. The wisdom
be
of
me.
God on display for the world. Let's reach for that, right?
Yeah. I would say amen to that.
All right. Well, see y'all next year. Okay. Favorite book of 2024.
Oh, gosh.
Can y'all think about what you've read through and what's? I actually think I might be able to predict for maybe both of y'all, if you really thought about it. The ones I've heard you talk about the most in 2024.
What book are you predicting for me? I want to see.
Well, it depends on what part of 2024, because you're an avid reader
I read a lot of
and you're starting to work on a doctorate, so
I read a lot of
you're
books.
chewing through them.
Yeah.
I know there's one book that you've recommended that. There's 2 books that you've recommended that we read. One you bought and put on my desk.
It's true.
Ooh.
I haven't finished it yet.
One
actually.
I bought for myself. Pilgrims and Priests.
Oh, that one's good.
Yep. If I had to guess for you, but I mean, I'm not trying to put words in y'all's mouth. D-Dub? It'd be following the way, practicing the way.
I would say the latest would be Practicing the Way by John
That'd be
Mark
an end of
Comer,
2024.
correct.
I've heard you
But
just say that a lot.
That's a good one. I
But
read that in
the-
early 2024.
I would say
Okay, then for both of y'all,
the
that'd be at least a
Theology of Health.
By Vanderweel?
Tyler
Wait,
Vanderweel has been. It's a very challenging read. Now, let me just say that it's not for the faint of heart, but it's very thoughtful, and I've really appreciated the insights I've found there, and I've grown to appreciate him a good bit. But I think for more of a devotional read, it would be Practicing the Way.
Yeah.
Would probably be
A little
my
more
take.
accessible. Practicing
That's a good
the
one.
way.
Yeah, it's been.
I
it's good.
confess I
Thoughtful.
have started it but not finished it.
Yeah.
Practicing the way.
It's that whole image of people being apprentices, and his contention is that the word disciple is not a verb, it's a noun. And so he quibbles with our language when you say you're discipling someone. He doesn't like that language because he feels like that puts the onus on someone else to do this for you. Who are you discipling? He said that's like asking the question, who are you Christianing? He doesn't like that phrasing, and I get it. I mean, I'm not saying I buy a whole cloth, but I understand what he means, that the Lord's called us to actually learn how to do this ourselves.
Yeah.
So that idea of practicing, and if you're going to practice, well, you ought to practice the right thing. So yeah, I really like it. But
Anything else that you would add to your book?
I read a lot of books. I think my favorite book I've read so far this year is, that's so hard. I read a novel, Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr.
Cuckoo Land?
Yeah, really great novel. It took me a while to get into it, but once I did,
Okay. I've not heard of it.
thoroughly enjoyed it. He's the guy who wrote All the Light We Cannot See, which they made into a Netflix
Yes.
series. And then What an Owl Knows was a really great book about owls.
Okay.
So
Yep.
I read science, and then I read fiction. Not as much fiction.
I would say my third favorite book that I read this year was Jurassic Park. Oh, no, I didn't actually read it.
He didn't read it. It is a book.
Sorry. Jen gave it to me, but I didn't read it.
My feelings are hurt. I don't know if I can continue.
Full disclosure.
I'm waiting on it to be turned into a really good movie, and I'll watch the movie first, and then I'll go back and read the book. That's what I'm waiting on.
The same as how this podcast isn't recorded 2 weeks from now. The best movie ever, Jurassic Park, came out in 1992.
Okay.
So you can go back and watch it.
Okay, all right.
30 years.
All right, I'll go back.
What's
your favorite book? Do you have a favorite book?
I can't think of a lot of theology that I've read this year, and not that I haven't. I don't know. But I did read several novels that were really good. My favorite was probably The Women. It's kind of popular right now, The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's about the Vietnam War, women in the Vietnam War. And I think I liked it, one, because I like historical fiction, and I learned a lot about that era, which is my mom's. I mean, when you think about women during that era, not that my mom went to the Vietnam War, but she started college at the same age
that
the main woman in this book did. And so I think that was captivating, just kind of picturing all of that happening at kind of my parents' generation. But that was probably my favorite. I read that earlier in the fall. And several other novels that didn't stick with me as much. But
I would also say I did reread Christ Plays in 1,000 Places, just the connection to Ephesians. And so, Eugene Peterson is he may be an acquired taste for some people, but
I just love him.
I like him, and I appreciate his insight. And
I find him quite accessible.
He created, or I would say, I think he actually invented this academic discipline called spiritual theology. So when he was teaching, and that's what he wanted to teach, the seminary told him, well, you're going to have to, what is your curriculum? And so he wrote it. And so that's Till It Slant and the Jesus Way, and Christ Plays in 1,000 Places. I mean, he basically produced his own curriculum for a kind of a new academic discipline.
And you're like, these people.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Okay, favorite podcast of 2024.
This one, no doubt, hands down.
It's got to be something more. But if it wasn't this one,
you can't vote for yourself.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
The other main podcasts I listen to would be the Carrie Nieuwhof Leadership Podcast, which is good.
That's pretty good.
Steal a lot of my practical ideas from there. Kyle, our producer's laughing because I send it to him all the time, and he sends it to me all the time.
Oh, okay. Kyle, what was your favorite podcast of 2024?
Tell me more.
Shift F1.
Formula Racing.
Formula One.
F1.
That's your favorite right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
But if it's not that, I really like Rebuilders, which is out of Australia. It's a cultural analysis and kind of theology combination.
Do you do any podcasting?
No,
you do radio though.
I listen to biblical teaching, but they're not podcasts. I guess it's more YouTube, So
similar though. I mean,
but I've joined Admirato, so I'm a big N.T. Wright guy, and so that's the new name of his new ministry, and so Ian McCauley and N.T. Wright and just a couple of them, and so it's a subscription. You have to pay to be a part of it and purchase things and all that, but I have access to a good bit of that. N.T. Wright now, I don't always agree with his take on some things, but his eschatology I have a great deal of appreciation for, and his willingness to let the text just speak and then you have to respond to it. I like that style rather than overlaying it always with your own theological reflection. He's pretty good about being a biblical theologian, which I'm kind of drawn to. I studied systematic theology in seminary, which is a little different than the track you guys were on, because they don't really do systematic at Truett. You're a more narrative generation, more narrative approach to theology, which is fine. That was alive when I was studying as well. I'm a historian, so I love historical theology, but at my heart, I'm a biblical theologian is probably what I would say, and so N.T. Wright is in that camp. And so when I was at Southwestern back in the day, you had a New Testament department and you had a theology department. And so you had people like Earl Ellis and Robert Sloan and some of these scholars show up at Southwestern and nobody knew what to do with them because they're not, neither of those men are New Testament teachers, but neither are they systematic theologians, and they're not historical theologians. They're both biblical theologians. And that caused a little bit of angst, So I live in that camp myself, though.
Yeah.
So
It's a fun camp.
yeah, and N.T. Wright does that really, really well.
He does.
And he's very thought-provoking, and so I listen a lot to him. I don't. It's funny. I don't listen to many sermons. That's just not my. It's interesting that as a preacher, I mean, I do have people that I would listen to, but the kind of preaching that speaks to me. I mean, like I love to hear Joel Gregory preach. I like preaching live. I like hearing it live.
Right.
So that's a little hard
as
for me.
As it's intended.
Yeah,
the preaching
it's
moment.
a little hard for me.
Yeah.
But
It's fair.
yeah.
Is a sermon really a sermon unless it's preached?
Right. I like to read, and so I'm not as much of auditory.
Yeah.
I should get better at that, shouldn't I? Of doing that.
I don't think so. But
I like to read.
You're pretty capable.
I think it's preference. I don't think it's
even
a weak
when I'm
spot.
out walking, I'm usually praying and preaching when I'm walking and reflecting. So I'm not. It's just kind of weird, isn't it? I don't listen to podcasts when I'm walking because I'm usually in a dialogue with God or I'm reflecting on something I've read as I've walked out.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
I
see people
just
walking
like
all the time
quiet.
wearing their little ear pods. You know,
That's preference.
It is.
Yeah.
Katie, what podcast for you?
I don't do a lot of podcasts either, to be honest. I listen to the sermons. I mean, there's the two First Baptist ones. I mean, there's more than two, but the two that I listen to. Like if you pull up my podcast app, there's only like 4 things on there, and it's Tell Me More, which I'm not voting for. I'm just saying I do listen to it. It's Our Sermons, because that's usually the way I consume them, because I don't often sit through the services. And then I really like Pray As You Go, which is a contemplative prayer app. I think they have incredibly provocative questions. Not provocative like trying to push the envelope, but like they slow you down and they ask a very pointed question that makes you just think about and interact with God in the midst of a busy. So like I listen to it while I'm washing the dishes at night or something, and it's like 12 to 15 minutes. But it'll usually ask some question that I feel like was written just for me from God in that moment. Like I just feel like it's really well produced, and maybe just speaks my language. And some of y'all listening have told me you've taken that on, and I appreciate that. But Pray As You Go, I think, is a really good one.
Yeah, I haven't.
And then I've just discovered, kind of at the end of the year, and I'm pretty hot on it, that Julia Louis-Dreyfus has a podcast, and I really like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the actress. She plays Elaine on Seinfeld. And she has a podcast where she interviews older women. I mean, famous, like I just listened to the Jane Fonda episode, and it's called Wiser Than Me or Wiser Than Me. And that her kind of premise for it is that women, particularly in Hollywood or media, are pretty dismissed after a certain age, but they actually have a lot to teach us. And so she interviews them about their life and what they've learned and what we can learn. And it's just right up my alley. I've really enjoyed it. So, anything like that, it's like recommending HBO shows to people. I have to do it with like an asterisk. Like there's no, regulation on it. They can say whatever they want. They can use as many cuss words as they want. They can go anywhere they want because there's no, it's not like ABC is telling them how many words they can fit in or it's going to be rated something. Right. And so it's crass, but it's honest. And I find Julia Louis-Dreyfus to be a very good interviewer. She's a good listener. Goes fun places. And
that's great.
And
fun.
I think just the women talking to women, and especially from that angle, I think that's special and good. So that's been a recent favorite. But I do recommend it with an asterisk next to it, though. It's not a Christian podcast by any means.
Right.
But
and we don't sponsor it here. It's not
would
sponsored
not.
by us.
We
right?
would not.
So
And-
They don't
and-
sponsor us either.
They don't either.
yeah,
pay
and
us.
if I
It's
produced
not
it,
a
I might
reciprocal
do it a little
relationship.
differently. Yeah, that's with no endorsement and no strings attached, and probably needs to say something like that. So anyway,
Don't listen with your kids in the car.
I have a question for you
Do
two
not.
in 2024. What about milestones for your children
I love that. It's a great question.
in 2024?
Oh man. We started.
Fun ages. Your kids in
Yeah.
We
particular.
were fully in public school
What
now.
year did they turn this year?
5 and 8, which is
Big.
Big.
It's big.
It feels
Yeah.
big. So we have a 5-year-old as of October and an 8-year-old as of at the time of this recording, Monday.
Yeah, just a few. Very recent.
Yeah,
days ago.
that's right. That's right.
So, yeah, it's they just continue to grow. It's fun. The milestones, I think at this age don't feel as big because the development slows down. I think kind of
like-
once you hit that
Right.
5-year-old mark.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's
What are you
incremental.
enjoying most about each of them?
They're just fun to talk to. They're very silly. I have 2 very creative kids. Very enjoyable. I think just goofy people. And I really like being with them.
I love that. special.
They're chaotic in the
What
best
about
way.
y'all's?
Huge year for us, right?
Yes.
I mean, this time last year they were barely one, which at an adjusted age would be not yet one because, we were in the
preemies.
Yeah, because 2 years ago we were in the NICU. My time hop reminds me. So this is a banner year for the Hodges boys. They kind of came into the world, came into their own, lots of personality. I mean, if you think about the past year, they've all learned to walk.
That's big.
And now they're sprinting, taking the hill, taking the stairs, all that. So lots of words.
Look out, world. Look out, world.
Here they come.
Sam is counting really well. Like, I don't know that he got every number right, but the other day he counted to 11. And I was like, all right, kid, like this is coming pretty natural for you. But he just, and it's the cutest thing because he's so little and his voice is so high because he's just this micro kid. So he's like, 1, 2, 3,
I love it.
4. It's just this super high pitch from the other room, but he's just on the way. So
fun.
They're really fun, but this 1 to 2 year.
Yeah.
I mean, because they turned 2 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And are they serious
developmental
playmates with each other? I mean, just because of
Yeah, they always they love each other, which is really fun. That's fun too. Like they the other day, I think I told y'all this. I may have said it in here. Ben just took a longer nap, so like Sam and Jack were awake, and I got them out of their beds kind of quietly, or their cribs, and brought them into the living room to play, and they just kept going, Bemmy, 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 and I was like, Benny's still sleeping, and they were like, Bimmy. And I was like, do you want to go get him? And they were like, yeah. So we just went in and I just sat in the chair, and they stared through his crib, and they just go, Bemmy, Bemmy. And it's like they just couldn't quite. Right. And then they go fight over all the toys. I mean, it's that's two. But it's so sweet. They know each other. They know when they're not there. They say that they say each other's names a lot. If you ever want just like straight raw, really good entertainment, I'll give you the code. You can watch the nanny cam, because when they go down for a nap, it is wild. They just throw things, yell. It's hilarious. But they're friends, and I think that's really like. Triplets is weird and hard.
Yeah.
And in some ways I do have lament of just how their life might play out. I worry about that. But the cool thing is that they just have this bond of brotherhood from the very beginning. It's really, really fun to watch play out. Yeah. So,
so a year has passed
in
the lives of all of y'all's children.
What about you?
Look at y'all.
Tell us about your family. You've got lots of children and grandchildren to choose from. But
mine will be the grandchildren, just watching them grow up. And
Gideon probably had a similar year. He's a couple months older than our boys.
He's a little older and he's a very precocious young man. What was funny, Gideon has a certain a sense about him. He's aware of other people's emotions, which we have found quite fascinating with him as a 2-year-old. Like we were watching Prince of Egypt. That's one of his favorite. I think it was Prince of Egypt. I think that's right. Anyway, there's something that happened in the show, and he looked at me and he said, "Poppy, she's sad." It's like he saw this expression and heard the expression,
and he can put that together.
And he put together that she was sad, and I just looked at Cindy and I said, okay, my little 2-year-old is noticing that someone is sad. Yeah. That's fascinating to me. Yeah. And then Adler, has she's 4, and she has her little personality has come out in a lot of ways. I think I told y'all they had their little Christmas program here at the CDC, which your boys were in. Yep. And Adler was a shepherd in it. And so I was in Washington, D.C. when the performance was going to happen. So the Friday prior, they said, well, you can come to the dress rehearsal. So I go to the dress rehearsal, and Kenny was there with me. And I think we said this already, but Kenny was helping me with the lights, and Adler just said, we're doing all this for 2 people.
I don't think you said that in here. I don't think you said that in here.
I said, what do you mean? Adler said, we've done all this practicing just for 2 people. And she's like,
I love that a 4-year-old's like, this is super lame.
That's exactly right.
Forget this.
She's up on the stage, and there's Kenny and I in the audience.
Just
she's like, all this.
Kenny's the head of our maintenance team.
So she's got that in her. So just watching her. And
I love that.
Ada has taken on the violin.
Do you see Hannah in her when she says things like that?
That's
a Hannah Wiles question.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, I went through all this effort for y'all to watch me do this.
There you go.
Okay.
We take great joy in that, by the way. Yeah. And so it'll be fun to watch.
For your
that Hannah's raising her own
That's
self.
Right.
Yeah, how about that?
And Ada has taken on the violin. and is taking it very seriously. I mean, it is like, she wants us to hear her most every time we're over there. She's learned some new thing with the violin, of course, which I know nothing about. And then Connor is going to be graduating, and he's talking about it.
Wow.
It's his senior year, and he just got certified as a welder. He's been in that whole welding program that
That's terrific.
the career training
Connor,
thing
that's a
they
big
have
deal.
here. Yeah,
That's cool, and we're
He's
proud
pretty
of you.
excited about
Yeah.
it. And Josh was on the varsity in basketball, and
Also a big
Arlington
deal.
High it is.
Hey, we're proud of you.
So yeah, it's been interesting to watch them all, So Cindy and I we've enjoyed it, and we have them right here with us, so not everybody gets that. So
It's fun.
Yeah. But
good.
yeah,
Sweet.
It's been good.
Grandparents, you have an important role to
So,
play.
we do. It's been fun.
love it.
It is what it is.
Okay, you up for another question?
Let's do it.
Ready?
Okay.
What's left?
Did you make a new friend in 2024? Who's your favorite new friend?
Ooh,
Wow.
dibs on Michael Glenn.
We joked about it, yeah. Ryan Chandler was our favorite friend last
Can
year.
we pick Michael? Can we all pick Michael?
No.
I really like
Somebody
Michael.
can. Yeah. Favorite new staff member? I don't want to because we've had Lily's joined as well. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah.
That's some really good additions.
We have.
Yeah.
We've added some really good people. So excluding Michael Glenn,
Wow.
who is
And now
obviously...
Lily. Well, I knew
And
Lily, though.
Lily.
We've
We all
known
knew
Lily.
Lily.
We've known
Think
Lily,
about
yeah.
that.
And I'm sure there's more. That's why I hate
I
saying
don't know.
that. I'm sure we left people
I got
out.
to meet a lot of, I think, good people this year between Ascent and then getting to spend some time in Canada. So
Yeah, some new ministry
yeah,
connections.
new ministry connections. They're not
That's good.
local, but just really good people
Yeah.
that I've enjoyed continuing to have conversations with.
I'm trying to think. This is why I wish I would have come up with these questions a week ago. Because, who have I gotten to know this year? I'm sure there's significant relationships. I just can't think of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, it's not necessarily new, but it's taking friendships to a deeper level with some of the colleagues that I am sharing this journey with.
Yeah.
So that's for sure
Good.
happened. But I would probably say my newest acquaintance that's growing to a friendship would be Arthur Jones. He's the pastor at St. Andrew Methodist in Plano.
Yeah.
And we have struck a chord with each other. And so really
Good.
like him.
That's great.
Catherine LaRue in our church, she and I, as working women, she's a high-powered. I have a lot of respect for Catherine.
she's
Catherine, if
awesome.
you're listening, we think
She's
highly of you.
awesome.
Thanks for serving
Little
our
Tyler.
church. She and I try to fit in lunch when we can. It's just, and of course, it's got to be planned like 8 weeks out and very structured and all that. But I do enjoy my time with Catherine. That's
Their little boy is such a cutie.
Yeah, he's cool. They're doing a good job.
I met him on the golf course a while back. Brian and I were playing, and they had little Tyler. And every once in a while, I'd say, "Come on, buddy," and he would go, "Dr. Wiles, I'm not Buddy. I'm Tyler." He'd go, "Okay."
I love it. I love it. Yeah, they're good people. Just CDC family.
Yep.
Trying to
Great people.
raise
They're awesome.
their family at
They're
First Baptist
awesome.
Arlington.
Good job,
so,
LaRue's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I feel like I'm leaving somebody out, but here we go. Let's keep going. Did you have a significant, that you want to share on here, kind of God moment, moment of growth? We could expand that to be like a season of growth, or what the biggest thing you learned, but what was God up to in your life in 2024, looking back?
I think I would probably say for me, I think there's been a little bit of pruning that's occurred in my life, and I've had to come to grips with that it's okay. And it's not my favorite thing, but I think that perhaps, when I've been just researching for the church, but just so y'all all know, it has to be real in me first, and so I have just sensed that God has been taking me through a season of pruning, and so I'm so growth oriented that's been a little hard for me, to be honest, but I've sensed it's from Him, and so I've gone back and really studied John 15, where the Lord invites us to abide in Him, but He talks about pruning, and I think pruning is a necessary part to growth. And so, but I think I've just been in a season of that at some level.
That's good.
And I'm trusting the Lord with it. I think He's really good at it, but it's not my favorite, and He knows that. So I've let Him know that it's not my favorite. But
He's big enough for that.
I think
God
it's
can
okay.
handle that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Luke?
I think for me, it's been kind of an increasing openness to the work of the Holy Spirit. And I think that comes through spending time with Pentecostals and Charismatics at Ascent, but also just talking to friends who are missionaries and hearing their experiences and their stories. And so really leaning into 1 Corinthians 12 through 14, where Paul really talks about the spiritual gifts and their role in the life of the church, and significantly the role of prophecy in tongues. I've yet to ever speak in tongues in my life, but I think historically I would have said no, never. And now I think I'm saying whatever you want, God.
Right.
Maybe so. And that God actually, through Paul, tells us not to hinder those things, but to actually desire them in our lives. So to desire the gift of prophecy, we're commanded to do that as Christians. And so an increasing openness to the work of the Holy Spirit and the charisma and the charisma of the Holy Spirit.
It's good. It sounds like both of y'all have humble postures on those journeys. Yeah.
How about you?
Part of this year has had grief and loss,
Right.
and reorientation after the triplets. That's been a big part of that for me. We've talked about that in here. Lost my uncle, and then just coming up for air and realizing, oh, man, this is really my life. Like, I've got 3 kids that are the same age, and they're 2. And so I think the wrestling with some of that for me has developed a good. I think I'm learning a lot about trust. I've had a lot of conversations with God about my. I just feel like I trust Him, but my life is good. And then when my life is not good, I want to make sure I still trust Him. And that's been the conversation. And I'm not really saying my life in any of those points wasn't good, but y'all can experience this. Now, my kids are more independent. I worry about them more, and they're 2.
Right.
But that's with me the rest of my life, right? And so I've had to give my worry over to Him a lot, and that has to do with trust as well. So we just have a lot of conversations about, like, I'm gonna trust you, and I'm gonna trust that you're gonna not protect, because that's not I can't put that on God, right?
Right.
That's not true, but that He's gonna be with me no matter what, and I trust that He's not gonna leave me, and He's not gonna abandon me when I need Him the most.
Right.
That's what I've held on to.
Like it.
Because I want to be able to rejoice in the Lord always, right? And not just when it's good. But I worry about that more now that my kid, particularly, I've lost my uncle at a young age, relatively 68, and that was painful. And he's younger than my mom, who is his older sister, so I watched that. And I have these 2 kids I love so much, and I don't want to lose them. And I just think I've thought about that a lot, more than I want to. But that's been this year. So where is God in that? And what does He really promise me? And what does life look like with Him, even when things aren't perfect? There's a deep lesson for me in that I've been trying to believe and hold on to. And obviously that's my world here, right, is helping people navigate that.
I was about to say.
I don't want to be exempt from it.
Right.
I don't want to ignore it. So I
We're in
think
this
it has to
together,
do
aren't
with trust in the valleys as well. Trusting the goodness of God and His presence in that. So
Amen.
I think that's my answer for that.
It's a good answer.
When do you want to stop this thing? I see
What else you got?
45 minutes
you got
in.
One more. You got one more
Let's try
question?
one more.
Okay.
One more.
What? Okay. I have a question for D-Dub and a question for Luke.
Oh, okay.
D-Dub, what was your favorite round of golf this year?
Ooh, wow. This has been a very strange golf year for me because I've not played as much golf as I would like to have played. Like during the month of July, which I normally play golf when I'm off because it's one of the ways I relax. I didn't do that. However, my favorite round of golf was not because I played very well, but it was because of the people that I was on the golf course
As
with.
it should be.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
put that on a bumper sticker.
So we were in Virginia for my brother Tommy's 50th wedding anniversary, and we wanted to go play golf together, but it was just hard to find the time to do it. However, Uncle Tommy said there's a really fun par 3 golf course. It's very unusual, cut right into the hills there in Virginia, picturesque, beautiful. And the golf course itself, not maintained very well, more like a pasture. But the greens were as nice as any golf course you ever would play on, which is very odd to find a golf course like that. And so my brother Tommy, my brother Emerson, my cousin John Frazier, and my son Josiah, we met and we just played that little par 3 just several times, and it was just beautiful and fun. I played terrible. We played teams. There's a lot of trash talking and not a lot of money lost, but a lot of pride on the line, and it was just fun. And we're all still talking about that round
light,
of golf.
Fun, family. I love that.
So yeah,
it's good. Okay, I'm guessing you don't want to answer that one.
I don't think I've ever played a full round of golf.
There it is. So that one was just for D-Dub.
Wow.
And I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Luke, did you have a favorite place of travel this year?
Ooh.
You've hinted at your Canada
I
experience.
really enjoyed going to Canada. Spending time in Montreal was really fun. It's a beautiful city. It's old. Got a really fun kind of Art Deco, kind of 1920s style architecture. So it's like if you mixed Philadelphia with Paris. And it's really fun.
That's Montreal.
And that's Montreal.
Well.
And you can get good French food, which I love. Really good French food.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But you don't have the snootiness of France.
Wow. And there you have it.
I love it.
What about you, Katie?
Travel?
I mean, round of golf or travel?
I think I golfed once this year. On our anniversary, we golfed. Because Ryan enjoys it, so it's something we can do together. And we golfed Lake Arlington golf course, which is, passable. It's fine. It's right by our house. But I'm sure many listeners golf at Lake Arlington, and that was good. Travel, I'm trying to think. We got a few weekend getaways. I mean, we did do some things. My favorite was probably we went with Ryan's family to Seacrest Beach. Seacrest,
there you go.
Rosemary,
Yeah.
30A for those that know the Florida Panhandle. And that's where I read The Women, which is a 500-page book. I just sat on the beach
and read.
The weather was great.
What a day!
I mean, it was just really wonderful.
Yeah.
It was like 2 days. I read it, started on the plane, read pretty much a whole day, finished it the next morning, and it was awesome.
That sounds really nice.
That's what I remember about 2024 travel. So
well, I will
that's
say
probably
this:
it, yeah.
I had one favorite hole in golf, though. I will have to say that.
Okay, and
it was at in Frisco at Stonebriar, playing in the Tom Landry Fellowship of Christian Athletes tournament. The 9th hole, played it during the eclipse.
Ooh, fun.
And it was the oddest, most unusual experience of my life on a golf course. Because we were, in fact, Joel Steed, my friend, we were joking because they gave us these glasses to wear, and he was like, "We don't have to wear these. It's not going to be a real eclipse. We all know this is all a bunch of hype, And all of a sudden,
like an
we're
eclipse
standing.
Denier. What are we doing here?
It was kind of like, well, you've heard about eclipses in the past. It don't really happen here. It happens somewhere in the world. And we were laughing about it. All of a sudden, we're standing in the fairway on number 9. And dogs start howling. We can see the parking lot of the golf course. All the parking lights came on. All the security lights of the houses all down the fairway all came on automatically. All their dogs started barking, running back and forth in the fences.
No,
right. We're standing there on the golf course going, "Let's put these glasses on and look at this thing." We're making fun of each other because we had been making fun of it.
I love that.
And it was kind of like we're all Christians. The guys playing, we all stopped and said, "Okay. God's really pretty cool. This is cool. It's gotten the whole world's attention here, just like that."
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
I kept the girls home from school that day, and I stayed home with them. And I remember when it finally happened. We lived really close to Gun Junior High, and I guess all of Gun Junior High was outside to watch it. So when it happened, all you hear in our neighborhood is just a bunch of junior hires
screaming. How about that?
So it's dark. Children are screaming.
We had that too because we walked to the park. We live next to a really big park, which is great. And Dunn Elementary School is within walking of that park, and we could hear high pitched screaming. I forgot about that.
That was just a memorable golf hole to me.
How about 2024? There's a lot going on.
What a year!
Yeah,
it's been good.
What a year! Oh, it's fun. How do we close this?
I don't know.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Right.
We love
will
y'all.
be back in the new year, except it will just be Katie and whoever she picks.
Yeah, y'all, quote unquote, next week are traveling to DW. You're going to dedicate a new building in Sierra Leone,
going to dedicate
right?
a new building, a new transitional care facility for orphans in Sierra Leone.
That seems like worthy work.
Yeah, so I'll be there. Get to touch our global center in Sierra Leone as well.
Yeah, and Luke, you're starting your doctorate.
Yep, I'll be
your first in-person class.
First in person. So, missional ecclesiology, renewing the practices of the church.
Awesome. Dr. Luke is coming.
One day.
One day, Dr.
Like
Lou.
4 years.
I love it. Well, I'll be here holding it down in the new year.
Thank you,
and we
Katy.
look forward to it. So, hey, listeners, thanks for making this real. Otherwise, we'd just be like talking to a box. But people actually listen, and I appreciate the production as well from behind the scenes. So, thank
Awesome.
you. Okay, we'll see you in the new year.
See you
Thank
next
y'all.
year.
Thanks for listening to the Tell Me More podcast today. You can subscribe to this podcast on your app of choice, or you can visit us at fbca.org to find out more information about the podcast and our church. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.